Hello, and welcome to today's live. And I am coming to you on Sunday, March 15th, which is the Ides of March. So the reason that I wanted to do this live today is because I was an English major and read almost all of Shakespeare's plays and sonnets and things that he wrote back when I was in college. And of course, Julius Caesar was one of the plays, and that was one of the famous lines in the play, "Beware the Ides of March," which is, and from what I can find out in research, is that in ancient Rome, when Julius Caesar actually lived, there was a day, and there were several days called the Ides, which would have mostly have been on the 15th of the months. And they had, in ancient Rome, they had their own calendar system and their own way of telling time, and some of it had to do with the days and some of it had to do with the moons. And so it was the Ides of March particularly was, from what I understand, a day that was mostly used for kind of like a tax day, a day for settling debts, a day for reconciling money situations, and a day of finances. And so it was just for a long time just known as the Ides of March because it was the 15th of March. And there were things that went on with that particular day. But then Julius Caesar was assassinated in 44 BCE, and so on that day, on the 15th of March. And so it became known as the day that Julius Caesar was assassinated. But it wasn't until 1599, when Shakespeare's play Julius Caesar was performed, that "Beware the Ides of March" became famous, because in the play, Shakespeare has the soothsayer go to Caesar in the play and say, "Beware the Ides of March," because he knew that something bad was going to happen. And Caesar, of course, didn't listen, and in the play, and so eventually was killed and was assassinated. And but that, that if he should have listened, to the soothsayer, he should have listened to the people that were around him, and he didn't. And we all have, but that beware the Ides of March then became the Ides of March became known as a day of kind of a day of being beware of betrayal, of something, something bad happening. And we've all been there. We've all had times of betrayal, times when we felt that been kind of backstabbed, or something bad has happened to us. And so that "Beware the Ides of March" and being on the 15th doesn't necessarily have to do with anything of that particular day, except that it was when Caesar was assassinated. But now we can use it. I feel like that it's kind of become this day of looking around you, and those times when you've really not listened to your intuition and really said, "You know what? I really should have listened to my intuition. My intuition, that little voice inside of me, was telling me not to do that, not to do something, or to do something and I didn't." Or something like that. And we all have those very specific times when we knew we should have listened to our intuition. That soothsayer was telling us to do something, not to do something, and we didn't listen. And in the end, we look back on it and we said, I should have listened. I knew that something was wrong, or something was not going to turn out the way that I wanted to turn out, or I was really hoping that something was going to happen and it just didn't. So we all have those times, and we all have times that we wish that we had listened to the soothsayer. And this, and beware the Ides of March. I like to use that as, to slow down, to ponder what's going on. If you have an odd feeling about something, if you're wondering if you should do something or not, look at it and say, if I'm not saying yes to this, and so there must be something that I need to be considering. If it's not something that you're just saying, yes, I have to do this. This is something that I know that I want to do. And then there's something behind it. There's something maybe that you have to consider. Maybe a class comes along and you think, ooh, I'd really like to take that class, and you're ready to sign up, and you think, I'm going to do it. But for some reason you just don't, push the little button, or make the payment, or say yes, or something is holding you back. And then when you look back, maybe you think, this was something that was going to, this class had really bad reviews, or this instructor, is not, doesn't have a teaching style that I think that I'm going to really like. Or it could be something that the class was online, and it was during a time when you had another commitment, and you just didn't really look at the calendar that closely. And so it's those kinds of things that kind of, like, you listen to your inner voice, listen to what is telling you, and give that voice really, instead of looking and saying, well, practically this makes sense. Something inside is telling you, something inside is saying, is telling you to trust your intuition. So today I have a message from the soothsayer for us today, and I wanted to do this on the Ides of March because I thought it would be fun to get. And what do we need to be wary of? What do we need to have a message about? So I'm using today, this is called the Old Style Tarot, and it's by Alexander Ray. And this is, I thought it looked very old style. And since we were talking about something that happened in ancient Rome and a Shakespeare play, then I thought this deck really fit today's theme. So I have, and I will post after this in several different places so that you can find it. The reading that we're doing is very simple. It's just one card, which is a message from the soothsayer, and then I have 3 cards around it that are kind of like what goes into that. So some just more cards that go into what's happening, go into this message and what we can learn from it. So today our message is from the Old Style Tarot, and from our message from the soothsayer on this Ides of March day is the 3 of Pentacles. So the 3 of Pentacles is about working with other people. So this is something to be wary of, because we all have to work with other people at some point in some way. And sometimes some of us love to work with other people, love to collaborate, and love to do group projects, and love to get on Zoom calls and work together with other people. And for some people, it's very draining. It's very hard to work with other people. So, that's kind of the message here, is that something is coming up in the next, few weeks or so, that you will need to work with somebody else, or in a group situation, or, something like that. Something like that is coming. And so that message to us is to be on the lookout for that. And so there's lots of different ways that this can come about. And so we're going to look at the three cards that go with it that I drew along with it to see where this might show up for us in coming up in the next few weeks. So the first card is the Magician. So when this opportunity comes up for working with other people, then you stand in that magician energy and look at that magician energy. And the magician there always has all the resources. The magician there always has always the things that we need to do whatever it needs to be done. And so looking at there and looking at your resources, so that's the first kind of step. When this comes about that we are having to work with other people or collaborate, or maybe we have a meeting that's coming up that's very important, know that you have all the resources. Have your resources ready. Have your resources, everything that you need ahead of time. And so that might be, a day or so before this is coming up, really sit down and listen to your intuition and say, what is it that would be really good for this meeting or for this collaboration that's coming up, or this group meeting that I need to go to, or something that I really need to do. And again, the magician is knowing your own resources as well. So know that when this is coming up, is it going to be something that is energizing to you, that is going to be fun and something that you're going to have a lot of fun with? Or is it going to be something that you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I don't know, how I'm going to do this. It's going to be, I don't really want to work with this person or have this meeting or, something like that. But the Three of Pentacles being here is telling us that it is important, that it's something that we do need to do and to be aware of. And so know that you might need to do some grounding and centering beforehand, and that you might need to do some preparation beforehand. So that is all the magician energy. So the next card is the Two of Pentacles. And here, we have the Three of Pentacles working, with other people as our message. And to go along with that is that finding that balance and looking at the balance that you need in the situation. You need to, working with other people. Sometimes it's very easy for us to really to be so enamored with our own, or convinced of our own, that this is the right way to do it and the only way to do it, that we forget that other people have opinions and that other people have their own ways to do it, and and their opinions are just as valid and need to be heard. And so if that's the situation, if you are the person that sometimes wants to take over, wants to let's just get this done, and just this is the right way to do it and let's go on, step back and say, I need to listen to other people. But on the other hand, if you're in a situation where there is that person and it's really hard for you to get your opinions in, even though your opinions are just as valid and you need to be heard just as much as everybody else in this situation, then do some research, do some get preparation to get to that point where you say, I need to be heard. I need to be heard, and I'm going to be heard in this situation. And my opinion is just as valid. And it's that balance of listening and speaking. And it's we have to speak, but we have to stop speaking so that we can hear other people, and that we can hear ourselves, and we can hear what we're saying, and hear and really listen to our opinions and the things that we've done, and we might need to look at it in a different perspective. And that brings us to card number 3. So here we have the moon. And so working with other people, sometimes it's really fun and rewarding, and sometimes it's not fun and rewarding, and it's really difficult. And the moon is there to tell us that it's going to be a cycle, there are some things that might be hidden, that until you get into the situation, until you start working in this group or with this other person, and working on a project with other people, trying to find other people to help you with a project, any of those kinds of things, is going to be a cycle. It might start out really well, and then there might be this place where you think, oh, what have I gotten myself into? But then, it's going to come out, and it's going to be better when, the more resources, going back to magician, the more resources and the more finding that balance is going to help you and move through that cycle, so that something comes out that is really, it's worthwhile. And the moon is also there as a little bit of a warning, because it is, beware the Ides of March. And so we need to, look and see, maybe there's something that we need to be wary of, because not every time that we work with other people, not every time that we work in a group, and not every time that we take on a project, or, something like that, where we have to do something with other people, it's not going to always be something that works out well. And the moon is there, to tell us that, and to say, look, very, very carefully, and look to see if there's something that is coming up, that listen to your intuition, listen to what is being revealed to you. Something might seem very good under the new moon, and then all of a sudden you're not yet, and it's not going well. And when the full moon comes around, and there's light shown on the situation, it might not be that great. And so it's okay to say, this is just not working, this is just not going to work, and give yourself that chance to really do that for yourself. So that is our reading for the Ides of March today. And it's great, and I thought it was just really fun to do this, and you can do it for yourself. Do find something that, pull out your tarot cards, get an oracle deck out, whatever you like to use, and pull a card and see what your message from the soothsayer is today. And then I know that there's one person here in the comments, and if you would like your own card from the soothsayer, you can just give me a little emoji, and I'll give you a card. So you can let me know if you're in the chat, and if you want to have a card drawn for you for the Ides of March, I'll be happy to do that, so we can all get our message from the soothsayer. Okay, so I'm going to, Reese is here, so I'm going to pull a card. And this is the old style tarot. Your message from the soothsayer is, the Seven of Swords. So this is a good one. So this is a good kind of beware the Ides of March card. This is really good for that, because the Seven of Swords can be something very sneaky. It can be something that you're kind of not seeing. And our third card in the group reading was the moon. So this might be something that's happening behind the scenes that you're not quite sure about. And so, look at that and see. Look at if there's something that is maybe that you're thinking, I need to really look into this a little bit more. I really need to look at and make sure that my resources are being used wisely and other people aren't. This can be maybe, an energy vampire, somebody else who is using your energy, and just say, nope, no thank you, I'm going to take it back, and I'm going to keep my energy safe, and not and not let it be taken by other people. Yes, that's a really good one. That's really good. Seven of Swords, and a good card for today. All right. Well, that is all I have for today for Beware the Ides of March and our reading. I thought this would just be a fun little reading for us to do together today. So if you did miss it and are watching the replay, and tell me if there's anything that what your message is from the soothsayer, and if there's anything that you're watching out for on this Ides of March. So have a great rest of the day, and I will see you again very soon. And remember that, and this will be down for you in the description, remember that the Broom and Moon Coven is open. The community is open. The membership will be opening on April 1st. And so I would love to see you there. So have a great rest of the day, and I will see you again soon. Bye.